If you were to lose against yourself, what would be the meaning behind it? Is it good news or is it bad news? Is it something that you should be happy about because it shows that you're really good at defending? Or is it something that you should be disappointed about because it shows that, after all, you're not that good at attacking? Well, that's the question that I had to ask myself yesterday, after I went against Oble, a level 33 from Philippines. So, according to his readme, he said that he saw my videos and was hoping that I test it out for him. And what he was referring to was that he basically made a really similar copy of my network with minor differences. But the main idea was still there. As you can see, there are some structural differences. For example, he has lower level code gates, lower level sentry, but higher level turrets. And there are some architecture differences, which I think might partially result from him being a bit more of a farmer, since we can see that his farms are higher leveled, but he only has one B-coin mixer, so he was actually able to use the other B-coin mixer as a troll point. Now, I actually think that's a better design, in fact, because the B-coin mixer is sort of like a level 1 scanner when you use it like that. But there's not much I can really do since I already have my B-coin mixer leveled up, and it's not like I can just go back and de-level it. Aside from that though, the main idea is still here, so I am still approaching it pretty much in the same way, and analyze it as if it was basically an attack on my own network. So we see here that the first troll point isn't really that strong. One protector, one blaster, one beam cannon took it out no problem, and I think that's okay. I sort of intended for it to be like that. It's not meant to be my strongest troll point. And that's because the Guardian is meant to be my slightly stronger troll point. And we can see here that even with this lower level antivirus and my higher level protector relative to the people who've been attacking me, I did struggle a bit and I had to throw down both the shocker and several ice walls. Still not 100% sure if that was my best use of shocker ever, but at least I can say it's better than all of the other ones that I've used so far. Now, he does have lower level antivirus, so I was able to secure the back part pretty easily and just move right ahead onto the scanner. Now, I went ahead with double blaster since obviously this is pretty much the time consuming part, and I really do like this because even though his antivirus isn't strong, it's still ending up wasting a lot of time. And if his antivirus were stronger like mine, then the protector might not even be able to hold even just against the antivirus alone. And I might have actually had to drop down to one protector, or not one protector, but one blaster rather, and that would have even took longer than what it took so far. So that's definitely pretty significant, because we see here that I'm actually pretty slow, constrained in time now. I'm down to just a bit over half a minute, and I'm only setting up the protector here now. And here we can see why this is a much better troll point than what I have, because I have 3 nodes to take down, but only 2 beam cannons to do so. Whereas with my setup, I would actually have 4 beam cannons. And here, I was actually trying to rush it, and I make a really big miscalculation, and it was just 1 hit away from being taken down. Because my thought was, since I had the data leech, I can just sacrifice this node and go all out and take down that node, and the data leech would finish the rest. But because of that 1 miscalculation, I actually end up losing, I think, maybe 5 seconds. Because it takes 1 second to put on the beam cannon, 1 second to put on the data leech, and then like 1 second to reclaim the node after it gets taken back. So that was definitely a huge loss in time right there. And the reason that I considered this overall a loss, even though I do have 2 triangles, is because I was mainly here for the money. He doesn't really have any B-coins, and I didn't really get most of his resources, so it's a loss because I didn't get what I came here for. Now, this does confirm several theories I have about my own network. For one, I do have exactly 4 choke points, as evident by the fact that I used exactly 4 protectors. I'm not sure if it's possible to add even more choke point and use all 5 protectors, since I can't really think of any way right now. Because I think even with my setup, where I have the storages on one side and the B-coin mixer on the other side, they could still probably get by it with just ice walls. It does show that the core delay is really good though, because no matter how easy it is to get through these other choke points, the core delay is something that's pretty much unavoidable, other than something like really high level battering ram and really high level shuriken in combination to take out this code gate. So this is definitely something that I want to keep, even if I do rearrange my network in the future. This choke point is not the best, because there's only 2 turrets, and that makes it pretty weak. Maybe instead, I could go ahead and move the net connection from this node onto this code gate, and then move this turret in between the Guardian and the scanner. But even if I were to do that, I would have to upgrade this turret a lot, which is gonna cost me unnecessary levels. And even so, I still don't think it's really worth it. So it's not something that's really applicable to my network right now, since my focus is on the sentry and the core. And it might not ever be applicable, since by the time I reach level 12 core, my network will probably be completely different anyways. This point on the Guardian is definitely pretty strong though, but the 2 nodes back here are really dependent on how strong the antivirus is. So that makes it kind of relative. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's take a look at a replay of someone attacking my network who has relatively weaker attacking power. And by relative, I mean basically his beam cannon and protector level versus my sentry compared to my beam cannon and protector level versus Oble's sentry. So he has level 10 beam cannon, level 4 protector, and I have a gold sentry, which is obviously much worse than level 12 beam cannon, level 7 protector versus the black sentry. I think that is pretty objective. Anyway, for some reason he attacks the wrong net connection. I'm not sure why he did that, because it's not like he was going for full control, since we see here that he didn't really bother with the evolver. So that might have just been a mistake. I'm gonna assume that's the case, otherwise that really doesn't make sense since he wasted probably like 10 seconds by doing that. Anyhow, we see here that so far it's mostly similar to what I've done against Oble's network. Even here, well, other than the shocker, pretty much the protector, blaster, ice wall deal with the beam cannon once the ice wall breaks. If he actually uses the beam cannon, which I guess he doesn't. But he does have to use an ice wall here, because my sentry is higher level and his protector is lower level. So we already see that there is definitely some differences here, but that's not where he struggles the most, since after all, he still takes this point down pretty easily, as I predicted, since I did mention that this isn't one of my strong choke points. It's here where we see that he really struggles. So for one, he definitely mistimed that ice wall, which is something you don't want to do, since it cost you a lot of time, and he had to go with, I think he just wasted 6 seconds there, because he was waiting for the blaster. But anyhow, he used the shocker here right away to set up the protector, and we see that once the blaster takes down one of the nodes, and he tries to reclaim it with the ice wall and beam cannon, he is struggling much more than I did. And that's mainly because, well, I guess he doesn't have as many ice wall to spare, but also because the antivirus is much stronger, and his ice wall doesn't hold nearly as easily as what I did against Oble. And so we see here that the nodes with the antivirus back there is reclaiming all of these nodes in the front pretty easily, and he just isn't able to secure a foothold. And because of this, he pretty much loses the protector, and it's over for him. He has no more protectors, so he's not going to get through the rest of the network. So that's what I mean when I say it's relative. Because of my higher level protector, I was able to spare more ice wall, and because of my having more ice wall, I was able to go ahead and take down all of these nodes back here without really sweating at all. Which also is partially because of the lower level sentry that Oble had. So that one difference made pretty much the difference between whether he won or he lost. Well, maybe not won, but whether he even got through the Guardian or not. Similarly, we can examine the attack by Zaiddarkness, who is level 30 and apparently managed to take something actually. Even though compared to how much he could have gotten, it's relatively nothing, but it's better than nothing. Technically speaking, it's better than nothing. Anyway, he has level 12 beam cannon, just like mine, and he has a low level ice wall, just like mine. And in terms of protector and blaster, he follows a really similar philosophy to what I do. The only difference is, I guess, he put one more level into the shocker and he carries one more shocker. Not really a major difference, I would say. So his first mistake here is, well, trusting too much on his beam cannon. Because losing that code gate right away at the start is going to set him back a lot. And we see that just with 2 code gates, he's already down to 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So normally myself, I would use the blaster there, even though the beam cannon is okay. And if the beam cannon really is okay, it's fine to use the beam cannon. But I'm just saying, if you lose the first code gate like that, it's going to be really bad. So here we see that he took down the first node pretty easily. He does lose the protector, but it wasn't a big deal. He does really secure the rest of the nodes relatively well. And here he actually wastes a lot of ice wall, which is definitely something you don't want to do, since that both costs the amount of ice wall you can use, which you don't really have that many of. Average users waste like 10 right there. And it also delays you, since every time it gets taken down, you do have to wait 1 to 2 seconds to take it back. So we see a very different result here, since instead of having the nodes get taken back extremely quickly like what the other guy experienced, we saw that he is pretty much able to set up a foothold relatively easily. And this is definitely because, well, he actually wasn't afraid to use as many ISO and beam cannon, and also because he had higher level beam cannon. So once again, we see that the antivirus really comes into play here. So it's all really relative, and that's also sort of the bad thing as well. Because what this means is that a higher level attacker in the future will actually be able to have a much easier time against my network. Because relative to them, they will have higher level beam cannon, higher level protector, higher level everything. And my network just wouldn't really hold as well if it's already struggling to defend against, well, a lower level attacker. So I was able to sort of break my own network, but someone who is even stronger than me will definitely be able to break my own network. And that's the main concern. So that's why after I get my core upgraded, I'm definitely going to be working on a new network architecture, since we already saw there are some weaknesses with my own network even in my own testing. Which is actually a pretty good opportunity, I think. So I actually want to say thank you, Oble, since normally I don't really get an opportunity to test against my own network. So I think that was mutually beneficial to both of us, at the very least, if you were hoping that I tested out for you. So we see here that the core isn't going to be done for another 8 hours, which is definitely not something that I'm going to wait for this episode. So that's a bit disappointing, because if you take a look, I have all this money and Bitcoin that I basically can't spend on anything. In fact, I can't even attack anyone, because that would just be a waste of money. Well, I'll be wasting their money, not my own, but still. So I'm just saying, if you want the money, then by all means, feel free to attack me. So instead, we are stuck with looking at my attack against winglove. Now, this might be the only situation that I encountered so far where the shocker actually came into play. And by came into play, I mean more like wasn't completely useless. Because the thing is, I sort of mostly been using the shocker for fun, rather than, well, using it seriously, because my shocker is level 3, which means it's only 4 seconds. And the only reason I'm using it, I guess, is, well, it gets a bit boring, just doing the regular things. And I did say that I would use it after Neo hacked me, so there is that. But most of the situations so far, either it hasn't really made an impact, or at worst, it made a negative impact. Like, I tried to use the shocker, and instead of actually protecting the node, I let my guard down and the node got taken. So that's definitely not desirable. But at the very least, in this particular hack, I can say that it made a non-negative impact. So yeah, there we go. I used the shocker against the 2 black ice, and because of the shocker, I was able to take down the first black ice before it even fired, and then I was able to take down the second black ice and move on to the next scanner with just 1 ice wall. So it's still a bit debatable whether the shocker was even necessary, because after all, maybe just 2 ice wall would have done the job equally well, and 2 ice walls still cost less and compile faster than a single shocker. But I mean, at least it didn't go to waste completely, so yeah, there you go. Anyways, I don't really think this double black ice pattern is that good, at least not at this level. Because I did watch, what was his name, Nurrad, I think? Where he was going against Fester, who had this triple black ice with triple guardian setup. And that was actually pretty funny, actually, if you ask me. And it seemed pretty effective, but he is basically endgame. I'm pretty sure everything he has is level 21, if I'm not mistaken. So far at this level of play, I think it's still kind of missing a lot of the power that you get at endgame. So I wouldn't recommend this pattern. At least not yet, that's for sure. And after the black ice, I guess it was just pretty standard beam cannon. Didn't even really need the blaster actually on this turret, just handled it with beam cannon and protector. And once again, you see that's why the high level antivirus makes a lot more difference than a higher level turret. But yeah, the core's not going to be ready for some time yet. It's actually been 2 days now and it's still being upgraded even on 5 threads. If it was only a single thread, it's going to take 10 days. And I'm pretty sure that at level 12 core, I think it actually takes 2 weeks if you have only 1 thread. So I'm pretty glad that I bought 5 threads, and I hope that if you're going to core 12, you also have a good number of threads, because it's going to be pretty painful to wait 2 weeks to upgrade the core. But yeah, that's all for this episode. So if you enjoyed the episode, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.